Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This video explains the SAP case that talk about the different architecture that SAP rolled to or provided its clients, and give a comparison of on-premise cloud along with opening the SAP platform for clients to add their own applications. So what we are going to talk about today is this is an example. This is a case of a company that already was doing great, but the key message that they want to share with you is that if you are a successful company, it is not really enough that you are successful today. You need to disrupt your operation every now and then in order to sustain your competitive edge within the market. They have a very optimistic goal to double the target market, and you will see that or you remember from the class presentations that they actually looked at 3 different initiatives to achieve that goal. One is the cloud, of course. The second was HANA, and the third is mobility. So we'll see how they have actually used or employed these 3 initiatives to their benefit in order to achieve their objective. And then they answered, again, part of the success of the case is that this is a company that answered a very fundamental question. What is core for us? What is peripheral? What should be the key thing that we should compete on? And one interesting thing that they started as a software development company, but then ended up as a cloud organization. And by cloud, I'm not saying that they are actually offering their application on the cloud, but rather that they have opened their platform to allow for clients to add to it and to continue the cycle of innovation. And one key challenge to that, the last point that I was saying, that opening their platform, is their ability to seamlessly connect, meaning that it is easy for anyone to build on top of what they already have, and that they are able to seamlessly connect to internal and external systems. Now, one of what they have agreed on at the end is that yes, they are an application company and that ERP is one of their core services, but they are going to open that platform to allow for creativity, and a key requirement is for them to follow open standards and also to support the SAP community. I think in the presentation, the group 2 mentioned how they created several user communities and tried to support these communities in order to provide the necessary support for users to add to the platform or use their already existing applications. So here we have the new strategy saying, okay, our core advantage or core service is the applications, the ERP application that we use in the class through Lab 2 and Lab 3. Now, of course, later on in the semester, you will see how analytics has been incorporated, but they didn't want analytics to affect the performance of the application. What do I mean by that? Usually, when you have large databases and you want to run analytics on it, then you will slow down the system because of the large set of data. the way that they solve that problem is by introducing HANA. HANA is an in-memory database, which means that running analytics using HANA will not compromise the speed of the application. That now you can run the analytics without really compromising speed. And that brings that third bullet into perspective. So we started as an application. We have to add analytics in order to add value and provide real time support to decision making. However, the challenge is that will slow down the application. So a way to solve it is to introduce the in-memory database. Now, one thing also that they realized is that they have to support mobility. And that's because of the nature of work done today. It's rarely the case that people do not move. I mean, I think of all kinds of developers, software developers, and the globalization that's occurring. And as a company, you have to support mobility. And that's why we'll see later on in the case that they wanted to incorporate mobility and incorporate it fast. Of course, again, with the very high cost of hardware that run in HANA or the in-memory database, they realized that not a lot of, I mean, if we want to really double our target market and increase the number of users to 2 billion, then there is no way that we can just focus on the large large companies. That we also have to target small and medium companies. And the only way that they can do that is through the cloud, is through offering an on-demand service that is metered, which means that customers pay as they go. So their target was at 2 billion in revenue. They want 1 billion users, but 2 billion in cloud. So what would be critical success factors? And sometimes when I say critical success factors, students kind of mix that with what are the requirements, or the critical success factors are factors that will help the organization succeed in achieving its objective. So here, for them to be successful, they know, again, anyone who have taken systems analysis and design would know that you need to prototype often, which means that when you are testing the idea, even the concept, you have to develop a prototype, because it's easier for the customer to see what's going on. I mean, like, do they like what you are suggesting or not? And again, it shortens the time to market. Why? Because the prototype, in most cases, is used in order to evolve the product. They want to work so close to the customer so that they have a good understanding of the needs. They want to identify change agents, because it is the change agents who help you easily, who help you get the users on board, who do the influencing. They go into the companies, they talk to users, they get users on board and get them enthusiastic about the product. So they are the influencers, they are the change, and that's why they call them change agents. Again, they understood that a lot of the areas that they need to compete in, they do not have knowledge of. So coming to the cloud, SAP is not a cloud company. They don't understand how can they offer the cloud or build the cloud or manage a cloud. They haven't done anything with mobility. Again, they mainly focused on ERP, and yes, they have acquired before all of that. They have acquired companies to help them with CRM and supply chain. So they followed the same kind of strategy. They went and they acquired companies that are leaders in these areas that they identified as key for their success, which mainly are cloud and mobility. And the database, the in-memory database, they actually partnered with a university because it was a new thing. They were among the first to come up with the in-memory database. So it was like the the invention of students in a university, and they partnered with that university and then took it and commercialized the innovation. Okay, so here are the companies that they have acquired. They've acquired Sybase because they already had the mobile technology. They acquired SuccessFactors because they were a cloud HCM. I mean, SAP had its own human capital management module, but again, offering it in the cloud was they understood that a lot of companies actually outsource their human resources operations to other companies. So offering it at the cloud would provide them competitive edge. Again, if you look at any e-commerce paper, it will tell you that majority of the money actually is in B2B commerce. So again, they acquired Ariba because that was the network for providing and the platform for providing B2B commerce. They already have a very large customer base, so acquiring that company would give again an edge to SAP. At the beginning of the case, we mentioned that SAP is a successful company, and one of the messages that they wanted to deliver in that case is that really successful companies do not wait for disasters to happen for them to disrupt their business processes. They do that regularly. So opportunities in a market may cause them to disrupt. And by disrupt, we mean that they stop and think and say, what changes do we need to introduce in order to remain viable in the market? So again, one of the main problems that any SAP user will tell you is that the system is slow. I mean, like if you worked on the old system, you would definitely feel how slow it is. So they understood that, especially when you're doing analytics, they understood that they had to speed up, and that's why they came up with SAP HANA and the in-memory database. Even though that this is a software solution, they also realized that the hardware is very important, and that's why they also partnered with HP in order to create specific characteristics for the hardware to be able to run the in-memory database. Now, one thing you have to understand about in-memory database, or you have to understand two things. One is that the database is stored in memory in order to allow speedy analytics to happen on both structured and unstructured data. Another key thing of the in-memory database is that it is column-based. And when you hear column-based, you think, okay, so what was the relational database that we worked on in Access, for example, or Oracle? They were row-based, which means that information is stored, or records are stored in a row. So in order to, when you are searching, you have to search the whole row in order to find out the appropriate records. With a column base, the records are stored in columns, and that make the process of locating or retrieving information much faster. So again, the fact that the database is running in memory, the fact that the database is column-based, both factors led to the speed up of analytics for SAP. Another thing that we have seen them doing is coming up with what they call the Fury interface, and that's much user friendly than the one that you actually use in class. We're still waiting for SAP to give us accounts so that you get to see the cloud, their their Fury interface for the ERP systems. In the case, SAP talks about Boston City and how they used SAP in order to check the performance of the government agencies within Boston City. You will get actually to use that kind of software, the Crystal Dashboard, towards the end of the semester, and you will be asked again to identify KPIs for a specific organization and to show their performance regarding these KPIs. So Boston City wanted to know how good it is servicing its customers or citizens, and they looked at 2,000 different KPIs. The KPIs are key performance indicators. These are like in an organization that it would be like profit, sales, customer satisfaction. So they are factors that contribute to the success of an organization. You use them and visually to show whether the status of the organization. Now, SAP also, another innovation that they came up with is the cloud business. We mentioned the fact that they have, through acquisitions, they tried to acquire a company who had experience in cloud, and that's how they could deliver and provide cloud services. We know now that cloud, at the beginning they were a SaaS cloud, which means that they were software as a service provider. So they provided their ERP suite over the cloud. It was subscription based, which means companies pay a monthly fee, and it's actually based on the number of users also. They found out that there has been an increase in the revenue. So compared to the original solutions, the actual software solutions that were installed, cloud enabled them to reach large number of customers. So at the beginning they mentioned 2 billion users over the cloud. And they started with a certain set of services. I think they started with sales and distribution and purchasing, and then they continue to move other products to the cloud until now, when they have all of their products available through cloud. Now that enabled, again, from a company perspective, from a provider perspective, they said, now we could upgrade the whole customer base overnight. What was the problem before? The problem before was that by the time they start an installation of an upgrade, usually the upgrades are 6 months apart. So every 6 months, SAP roll out a new upgrade. Now it takes them 6 months to install or more to install an upgrade. So by the time they finish one, a new one is already released. And of course, they will not be able to do that. Go back to the customer and say, we have a new release. They'll have to wait. So that was a problem for them, because if you release an update and no one is installing it because they have just finished the older upgrade, then you have a low customer consumption of your software. Customers are not able to consume the software because they have just finished an upgrade. Of course, they don't want to go through the upgrade again. Now with the cloud, they said, we went down to 2 to 6 weeks deployment model, which means anytime they have an upgrade or even an installation of a new system, then it would take them 2 to 6 weeks, and they can push it to the whole customer base overnight. So you don't have to do it individually to customers. When they saw the increase in the number, the huge number of customers that they were able to reach through the cloud, they realized, okay, we need to embed cloud in every business unit. So it cannot be a unit by itself. Originally, they started by saying, okay, we are creating a new department and we call that department cloud, the cloud business. And then they realized we really need to push everything into the cloud. And that's when they said, okay, let's embed cloud in every business unit, which means every department now have a cloud subunit in there in order to push their services into the cloud. Now, this unit was responsible for the implementation of software, and originally they were focused on business to business. Why? Because, I mean, like normally it is large corporations that can afford SAP solutions. But then they realized we have to actually move to a business to consumer model. I want you to think why. I want you to think about this. I'm not going to tell you, but I want you to think why did they have to move the implementation from a B2B to a B2C model? Again, in order to support customers, they realized, okay, we can really exploit social media in order to reach customers for two reasons. One, to support the customers, but more importantly, to get also ideas from the customer to improve their software solutions. SAP also, now, I mean, like starting last year, they started to push SAP HANA through the University Alliance. And it says here, two birds with one stone. One, they are training undergrads, trying to get them ready to be hired by companies. But they also understood that the undergrads would be the best marketers for the software. Because once they are recruited by a company, and even if the company does not use SAP, these will be, the students can go into these companies and say, we have been trained on SAP. It's a wonderful tool to do reporting, for example, or business intelligence and so on. And in fact, a number of my students, when they use Crystal Dashboard, they went to their recruiters or like to their companies and suggested that they use these tools. That's all for SAP Cloud. So I want you to understand why did SAP have made the move to the cloud? What made them successful? What are the things that made them successful? And what did the cloud do for them?